So please let me know if it's wonky and if
they're
the
not gonna
strap,
know.
if you can make sure the strap isn't wrapped around my earlobe, that would be great.
Looks great from this angle.
Thanks. I really situated myself in the mirror before sitting down. So.
Do I have an armpit sweat?
No, you look great. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Polite as Fuck. Happy Wednesday, midweek coming at ya with your favorite podcast here.
Yippee!
I hope we're not going as spicy as we did last week. That was a fun little episode, and we got some really fun responses and learned some new stuff. So thanks, friends.
Apparently, what is it called?
I have no idea.
Snowballing?
Yeah, that is insane.
Not for me, but not to king shame. It's just not for me.
Not for me. Never tried it though, so I guess you can't hate it till you try it.
Yeah.
Who made that rule up?
But I do.
But I do. No, so we want to kind of...
Back to our wholesome roots.
But yeah, exactly. Give you guys a little bit of... It's not really an update, but I think Erica and I have been going on a lot of dates and meeting new people and putting ourselves out there in hopes of just, like, being more confident. Not really in hopes of anything. Well, I think that's besides the point. But we wanted to kind of talk about first dates and things that we really like about first dates, and then not to always be so negative, but things that we don't like or that we're not really looking for, or things that we've also like learned from going on first dates and meeting people to kind of help, I don't know that we're all going through the same shit, and kind of just like, it's not just you, or it's not just us, or it's not just me, it's kind of everybody, and the dating scene right now is like super weird. Anyway, nothing super new, just our hot takes on some fun things, because dating in San Diego is like, I fucking hate it.
I think it's just dating. I
don't
think you can say just San Diego.
I do. And I will continue to blame it on the city.
Where else have you dated?
Nowhere. This is like the only place I've dated, but it's been fucking a nightmare. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I feel like we've talked about it a little bit, but my approach to dating has been very different this year than last year, and I've basically done the opposite of everything I was doing last year, so I'm just excited to talk about like those differences and what I've learned in doing it and what I'm never going to do again.
Can you share what it is you're looking for? Like why this time going on dates, apps, not apps, like just kind of entering the world, like what it is you're looking for and how that's different from what you were looking for last year when you went on all these dates?
I don't know that what I'm looking for is different so much as my like approach to how I'm doing it, because I feel like I was like, okay, cool, I'm like ready for a boyfriend, I'm ready for a partner, and I like got on the apps last year and was like making the moves to make that happen and being very much in my like masculine energy and taking control and setting the dates and pushing people to make plans and being like, I'm gonna go on like as many dates as I can. And I don't regret how that was, but I think it was very draining. I also feel like, I mean, I guess it did change a little bit. I don't think I knew really what I was looking for when I was going on those dates. Mm-hmm. It's like I know what I like when I meet someone and I vibe with them, I know that it works or it doesn't. But, like, I mean, I did my dating wrap, and I was like, these are all the icks, and this is why it sucked, and this is, like, and it was funny, but it was also, like, I was constantly in the negative, or just, like, finding reasons why it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And this year, I hadn't gone on a date since, like, August of last year, and then I went on my first date in, like, April of this year, so I don't even know how many months that is.
Yeah.
Someone do that. It's been a minute. And during that time, like, I was unemployed for most of it. I feel like I spent a lot of time, like, doing things that I want to do and investing in myself, and then really writing down. Like, that was when I did the letter to my, like, future partner and really thought about what I wanted. It's when I, like, really reflected on, like, what do I like about myself? What do I value? What are boundaries I want to set before I date someone so that I don't like lose myself in a relationship, which is a common problem of mine. And how can I approach dating towards not exhausting and be in my feminine energy?
Right, yeah. Which we talked a lot about this year as well, or like last year and starting into it. I think the intentions of dating have changed with both of us this year. I agree, very similar on like what it is I'm looking for and like my intentions. I feel like last year I was not interested in going on any dates because I think there was a lot of like fear and just like I was not in a good headspace, but I was also on the apps and then getting frustrated. It was like this horrible spiral I felt that I was in, and then being unhappy with what I was doing, but I wasn't really doing anything intentionally. I was almost digging myself a hole and then being pissed off that I was like stuck in the mud. Like it just didn't make any sense. And so I think this year I decided to get back on the dating apps, which I'm still like not a fan of. I don't think everybody's like, woohoo, dating apps, but I think I am very like, I have to set boundaries. Like I will like I don't even know what's the right word for like doom scroll, but on a dating app when you're just like,
doom swipe.
Yeah, doom swipe basically. And I really cannot do that. I can't find myself. I've had my dating apps for a minute now. I've taken days where I'll like wake up and want to like respond to a text or respond to a message or something, and I just already feel the energy being drained out of me that I'm like, today I need a break. I need a break off all of this. Like it's just not going to work. But I do also feel that like my confidence level in myself this year has been a lot different than last year. So I feel like it's a lot easier for me to put myself out there in real life too, which has been fun and exciting as well. Yes. Hasn't really led to any real dates on that side of things, but it's been fun.
Having a good time.
Let's dive in. Should we talk about the negative stuff first?
Yeah.
I feel like we should just get it over the way. I love being negative. My favorite. I did want to share a story really quick. So I recently went on a first date not too long ago with someone that I met off a dating app that was just not my favorite date. It was my worst date, but it has not been my favorite date in a minute, like interaction with a guy. And I went to work the next day and I was like talking with one of my coworkers about it. We were just like, I was behind the bar washing dishes and I was just like, this guy didn't ask me a single question about myself. They're all the same, blah, 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 bitching. And a few minutes like pass and this couple is sitting at the bar and this guy stops me and is like, I was like, not to be, an eavesdropper, but I heard you talking about that with your friend. And like, I just want you to know, like, you're definitely not alone. I feel that too. Like that is very frustrating that he wasn't listening. Anyway, we start like talking and we're talking for like they're there for like 2 hours. So like 45 minutes in, we're just like, they're saying the same thing about dating, the same things that we're going to be talking about today. And I find out that they're on a first date. And I just like I was very surprised because their chemistry was like they were already going back and forth with like their ideas and their hot takes on dating, but then also still like the way that they were sitting at the bar was just very like, I had like a little bit of self-reflection in that moment, because if this situation would have happened this time last year, I would have looked at them and been like, who the fuck are you to be telling me that like dating life is hard in San Diego when I can see you two be playing handsies under the bar? Like, y'all are cute, shut the fuck up. Like, I would have just taken it as an opportunity for me to be like upset at myself and then just this like negative Nancy about everything. And I felt like when they had said that, after been like talking for a while, I was like so excited for them because I was like hearing their like struggles and woes of dating in San Diego, not San Diego, just dating in general, whatever. And then look at them still putting themselves out there, still made, like, even if it doesn't work, like, they were still, like, cute and talking. And then we saw them that night. Erica and I went out for drinks, and I saw them making out on the corner. Like, they clearly had a good time. And it just, I don't know, it was a really nice, like, moment of self-reflection for myself of, like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at in dating. Because I think it's really hard to, like, tally yourself. Anyway, yeah, so that's a fun little moment that I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah.
And you too. I already told you the story while drinking, but we're repeating it.
So the negatives of a first date?
Negatives of a first date.
I feel like a first date I've just come to accept is always going to be uncomfortable. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like horrible, but I think especially if it's from an app, like it's just awkward
Yeah.
and weird, and you're like finding your footing, and it's like you've been kind of talking to this person, but you still don't really know them. You have no attachment to them.
Yeah.
And you're like seeing what they look like actually for the first time. Like it's a lot to take in. And I do think it's really hard when your first date is a dinner date, because immediately you like meet someone and then you sit down and then you're just like, I don't know, I feel like it gets into like interview mode a little bit. But you don't agree with me.
No, continue your thought. I don't disagree. I just like, I find like going out to food, like it's so basic, but it's so comforting. Like I'm afraid to really do anything else. I don't know. I just like, I don't want to do something fun with you because what about if it's fun and you ruin it for me? Like I like hikes and walking and like, I don't know. Dinner, I'm fine with dinner and drinks, honestly. I don't mind it. It's probably my favorite first date.
Is dinner?
Yeah.
I feel
Or
like
drinks. I know people don't drink. I don't care if we're just going out to like, even if it's an NA bar, if you're not a drinker or somewhere, like I like sitting in a social service. I want to see how you interact with our waitress or waiter. I want to see how you interact with like other people. Like, do you hold the door open, like, and sit down?
That's fair.
I
That is fair.
like these.
Yeah.
I like those things.
Yeah.
I do see where like it's like a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's very interview mode. And, like, it's not as fun as, like, oh, you want to go, like, take a hike or walk on the beach? I don't know.
I just think sometimes it can, like, trap you there for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's
than
very
if you're
true.
like, hey, do you want to, like, meet at the beach? And we, like, walk around. And then it's like, okay, I think I'm going to go. Like, you can end it whenever, you know? Whereas, like, at dinner, it's like, we got to wait for the food. Do we get appetizers? We can really drag this out all night.
Yeah. But I feel like if I'm on a walk, sometimes I'm like, I need a plan. Like, I can't just, like, willy-nilly, like, start walking. I'm a fast walker. I don't know. I just feel like... And then I feel suffocated because I don't like when they don't make a plan or, like, are incapable of making any sort of plan. And that seems to be very consistent with every single guy that I've hung out with, first date or not a first date. They just, like, can't fucking make up their minds. And so, like, what happens if you're on a walk and you're having a good time, or you get to the end place and it's only been, like, 15 minutes from point A to point B, that you're just like, okay, now what? And then it's just like, well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to shoot you is what I want to do. I'm so over that. Like, I like a plan. At least when you get to the restaurant, you know, like, okay, we're here.
Yeah, that's fair. That is all very fair. And the guy that I've been talking to, our first date was a dinner date.
Yeah.
So it's not always negative. I just think that
You're definitely not alone in that thinking either.
It can be a bit much for a first date.
When it comes to like a first date on dating app or not a dating app, I appreciate when the guy makes the plan. Because I think it says a lot about the person that I'm interested in. This guy that I went on a date with, he made a plan, which is great, but I didn't like it. Not that I didn't like the plan. I didn't really, like, I judged a little bit about, like, where we went. Oh, God, this makes me sound so horrible now that I'm, like, saying it out loud. So I'm trying to, like, say it in a way for, like, people to understand, because I feel like it's relatable, but, like, I'm like, oh, okay, you took me. Fuck, I don't know how to say it. Like, fuck me. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like the place. I did not think it was, like, my favorite. I did not feel like... I just was so appreciative of their plan that I didn't like... I like to be surprised when I go to a place. I don't like reviewing the menu too much or looking at the drink menu because I like the atmosphere of, like, going and sitting down and looking at the menu. So when he said, like, let's meet here... da-da-da-da-da, I was like, boom, perfect. I don't really need to think about it because you made the plan. And then we get there and I was like, oh, okay. Like, it just wasn't my favorite place. And I just think, like, as much as I like them making the plan, I think it just has, like, a lot to say about who they are and maybe what the kind of relationship would be, or the
Did
person.
he
they are.
ask you like, oh, would you prefer like Mexican or Italian, or like anything in the
prompt
making of the plan?
or something like that was like, our first date should be, you know how it gives like lists, and one of them was tacos, and that was the one that I liked. So it was like kind of all around like, let's get tacos.
Okay.
I don't know. So I think my first thing, I kind of like twisted it to be like negative and positive, but I don't like when there isn't a plan, or when it's on me to make the plan. I'm automatically like, no, I'm not interested. It's not like my favorite thing. That's kind of like before the first date on like dating apps, but I think it like is important to know.
Yeah. It's one thing that I learned and that I did differently this year was like, if they're not taking the initiative, then nothing's going to happen.
No.
Because I'm not going to start the relationship off by me taking charge and it's not.
That's how it's
that's
always
setting that tone for the rest of it. And I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I can make plans and like be helpful, and like we can talk about what we want to do. But I feel like it speaks volumes to their like ability to take initiative or to know what they want. If they're that. I went on a first date where like, I think we already talked about the bowling date, where we got there and all the lanes were closed. Yes. And then he's like, what do you want to do? But like, even before the date, he was like, what do you want to do?
Murder guy. Yes, of course. How could we forget?
And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
One thing I also did differently, I mean, I'm trying to like think of like the negatives, but I feel like it's more of my like outlook on the date itself that has changed, because it was like before I was immediately like judging based on like a spark or like if there was like this like really great chemistry, which like I think yes should exist to an extent, but also what I've learned is just like, how does my like body feel? How do I like feel during this date? It's not necessarily like I'm meeting someone for the first time. I can't expect me to be like, this is the love of my life. Mm-hmm. And I think that mindset shift has helped, because I feel like in the past I'm like, oh my gosh, I just went on this date. I like didn't feel anything, and like what a waste of time.
Yeah.
But it's like I still had a good time. They seem like a decent person. I like. Should I talk about the post date 8? Do you know what this is?
No. Oh, the questions? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My notes look a little different this year. But the questions to ask like afterwards is like, what side of me did they bring out? How did my body feel during the date? Do I feel more or less energized? Is there something about them I'm curious about? Did they make me laugh? Did I feel heard? Did I feel attractive in their presence? Did I feel captivated, bored, or something in between? And I feel like that helped me, because sometimes you leave and you're like, that was awkward, or like, I don't know. But then you answer these questions, you're like, well, actually, like, we did laugh.
Yeah.
And like, they were attentive. And I am curious to learn more about like their job or whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, you can try a second date.
Yeah. No, I think that's so true, because it's not something that I really think about when it comes to a first date, because I love looking for that spark, that chemistry. I love that, because I love that like vibing. I'm like recently met a guy and like hit it off right away, like instant, not even like instant, but like just so much fun talking, having a great night, that like the chemistry was like top notch. To get to the end of it and like to walk away feeling the way that I felt, I was like, it's not worth it. Like you can have such good chemistry with something and then they didn't even ask it. You know what I mean? Like it's almost, I don't know how to like describe it, except for the fact that like the feeling that I had in my body was not what I like or that what I want, even though the chemistry was all there. So I'm like not doing a great job at explaining this, but like I just don't like the way that my body felt after. You also I wanted to bring something else up. Something along the same lines is like, I feel so like content in my life right now, and like I have been, even though when I'm like in a mood or upset, or like as much as I would love a relationship, I really do, but I am looking for a certain thing, a certain feeling, a certain someone. Like it's not even like really looks or like an exact personality or even a feeling. I just like know, not that I'll know when I know, but I just I, in the past, have been so wanting a boyfriend and a partner that I'm really willing to overlook some of my, like, things that don't seem like super important to me for the sake of like, oh, okay, like it's just gonna have to make it work so that I can have this. Like everybody does that. Like I'm not doing that anymore. Like I'd rather be single than put that stuff first.
Yeah.
Which I know can kind of spin into another negative way of like, oh, you know, like play devil's advocate a little bit. And like, not that I'm like specifically looking for a spark or just chemistry. There's a lot of things that I'm looking for, but I'm still not willing to like change that.
No, I think that's important. Because it's like, I feel like sometimes what makes first dates really hard too is like, if you don't really know what you're looking for or why, or you're feeling like lost or discontent in your own life, and then you're like trying to have this person like fill those gaps for you.
Yeah.
All around, it's just going to be like, what is happening? And very draining.
Yeah.
Like I have had some interesting first dates and people that I'm like, I don't care if I ever see them again. But I have not been feeling like drained and sad and like, oh my gosh, because it's like I have my life to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened with them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I think that's definitely like important to me too, is when I'm on a first date, it should be clear from like your profile or like the energy that you're giving off. Sometimes it's not, but like, why are you here? Like what it is that you're looking for. Clearly it's not like we're going to get married tomorrow, but like, are you here just to like meet new people because you're like new to the city? Like sometimes
I won't swipe on that. I won't swipe if you're in the short term.
I went on this date recently where this guy on his on the profile said long-term relationship, which is the same as mine. That's what I have. That's like what I'm looking for on the dating apps. And after talking with him, not that they specifically said anything different than that, it was just more of like they had just moved to San Diego. They had mentioned a few times that they don't know people. They're trying to get to know. It was just like the language that they were using. It just kind of everything else that had happened in the date as well as this, I was like, why am I here? Like I thought, you know what, not that, I don't know. It felt, there's a lot of things about his profile that felt disingenuous, and that was one of them. I was just very frustrated, and I felt like, not even frustrated. Honestly, I was fine. I had a great time. I was myself. It was just like I was taking notes in my mind. Like this is a reason why it won't work out. Is not only are you not looking for something long term, but you also said that you're looking for something long term, and I got interested, and you kind of waited until now to say that that's not really what you're looking for. It just felt a little off. But
also,
I think that's
they
important.
lied or like were weird about their career.
Yeah, they were weird about them being in the military, which is like, I live in San Diego. I know all of you are in the fucking military. There's no way to fucking escape you. That's fine, but don't lie.
Yeah, don't be weird about it.
Yeah, that was just so weird. That was so weird.
Yeah.
So another thing, don't lie about what you do. Just be honest. If I can be honest, you can be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a little easier for me to talk about things that I do like on first dates because it just is a little bit more positive, and I can actually bring like exact examples. So I think what I had said before is like, I like when you plan the date and getting to see like who you are as a person and what's important and what you think I may like. I don't think I did the last explanation justice. I think the guy that I went on, there were a lot of things that the place, if it was like someone that I had a connection with and that was an engaging person, I probably would have not minded where we went. I think just on top of everything else, it kind of threw me off a little bit. Just to throw that out there, now that I can finally fucking speak. So I definitely like when they plan. I think the top thing for me is when you ask me questions. Like specific, straight up, like, questions. And I'm not just saying like, okay, what do you do for work? I am the kind of person that like, I'll be talking and I don't mind when someone's like, oh wait, what? So what happened with that? Like, I like this banter back and forth. I do it. I reciprocate when people do it back to me. That's how I talk with people. And I just think it's like such a, like, I don't know, not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people are like, not that they can't ask questions, but are a little bit more quiet or reserved. I don't like that. So I like when you can talk.
I don't like that.
I don't like it. And I recently listened to one of the newer episodes of Girls Gotta Eat, and this episode, guys, is fantastic. I definitely think you should listen to it after you're done listening to this one. It's called Our Assumptions Ruining Dating. And
I saw that one.
It was amazing. And I mean, it's not like hot takes or anything like that, but I just think they had a lot of things, and they have like a lot of people that they can reach out to and stuff, and so it was nice to hear it on their podcast as well. But they took like some studies off Tinder and everything of like what is like the bar, like what are like women really looking for, what are men really looking for, because their whole idea is like we enter the dating scene in hopes to please the person that we're trying to like date or whatever without fully being honest and transparent of what it is you're looking for. So you show up thinking like, oh, he just wants a booty call. And then so you start, I don't know, it's just like all these assumptions when really like, I mean, hot take, if we could just fucking communicate, it would save a lot of time. But we're not alone. Literally everybody is doing that. Anyway, on this episode, they were just talking about how like literally the standard is so low that we just want, like, women want, if you're going on a date with a guy, for the guy to ask questions. Like that was on one of their polls, and even a study that Tinder did, and they were explaining that, and it's like they made a joke about it of like, oh my god, I can't believe the standards are that low. But it's like, clearly if Tinder has to make a whole fucking research project, like it's not happening. I don't understand why it's not happening. I don't know if like, I don't know what the fuck guys' problem is and why they can't, but like I'm not just saying it because I'm like, oh, it's the easy thing to say, like, just ask me questions. But, like, clearly it's not happening. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what I had to say. That's one of the things that I like. Asking questions.
I like when they ask questions. I like when there are multiple elements to the date. I'm just thinking about, like, okay, I know I said that a dinner date isn't necessarily my favorite first date, but if it's like, even if it's a quick hour or something, if there's some thought behind it, like I went on one the other night, which was like, we went on a walk and then he brought a blanket and we sat on the beach and watched the sunset, and it was like, there was like multiple elements.
He brought the blanket?
Intention behind
Check.
it. Like clearly, I think it goes to making the plan, but like thought out a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like if we do go to dinner, like maybe go on a walk after or something to like, I don't know, keep talking.
Yeah.
Because I did go on one date that was like so quick, and it was actually just what I wanted because I didn't want to go on the date, and we just like went and got a drink and then I left, and that was fine. But I feel like I didn't necessarily learn a ton about them or like see them in different settings, and it was also like there wasn't really a ton of plan that they had to put into that, so I didn't really get their like creative ideas on like what would dating them be like, you know?
Yeah. I appreciate when guys text after the date, even if it wasn't the best date. I appreciate like, did you make it home safe, or I'm home. Even the guy that we had great chemistry and I left kind of feeling like a little wonky still said like, hey, I made it. Like, are you good too? Like, I appreciate that because it's just like a quick check-in. And also it's just like, I don't know, the world is scary. You never know. And like when humans interact, it's just good to know, even if you're not going to like orbit with me again, at least, you know, you're checking in. And the podcast episode that I brought up about Girls Gotta Eat had mentioned that Tinder had also said that as well. And one of the girls was saying that when they used to live in New York, guys used to do that all the fucking time. Like, did you make it home? All the time, text, call, whatever, just to check in. And they live in LA now, and they were saying that it's not happened once. And I think it just like is so interesting to me because I think in we have to drive sometimes far out or far away or like walk. I feel very safe, but like I don't mind like walking to a date or going downtown, or if there's multiple elements where you have to like, you're going to the beach and then going somewhere else. Like I think it's just important to check in, and it's something that I appreciate, and it could be the tipping point of like, to go on a second date with them. Not that that's all gonna wind up happening at the, you know, just because they send that message, but if they send that message, maybe you can like communicate again about the date. You can talk about things that you like. I don't know, it just like opens the floor a little bit. And then if they send that and you're like, oh, no, it's good. It gives you an opportunity, which I think you've learned a lot of, like, okay, how do I navigate telling someone after first date that I'm not really interested. It's not really what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's a plus for me.
Going off of that, you reminded me of like confirming or checking in before the date.
Yes.
Like before and after. I just feel like that's so important, and it like shows that you're intentional with your time as well as mine.
Yes.
Like I've made a plan for a date that was, maybe we made the plan on like a Thursday and the date was on the upcoming Tuesday, and we don't need a text. It's fine. But on Tuesday I'm like, is it still happening?
Yeah.
And I, like, one of the times I texted to check in, and he was like, oh my gosh, sorry, I can't make it. And I'm like, well, thank goodness I didn't just show up there.
Yeah.
But, like...
it's just not super thoughtful.
Yeah, it's not thoughtful. Like, we made these plans, so now your words literally mean nothing, and I'm not going to try and make a plan with you again, because that was weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just think it's kind.
Yeah.
To check in.
I also like when they're kind of considerate of the location that you live in or where you're coming from, and kind of plan around that. Just like the thought process when it comes to figuring out. I don't mind them asking what it is I want to do, because I think sometimes, like, I don't really want to go super far. Not that I live far from the beach, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go to the beach right now. Like,
yeah,
it just
I don't really want to drive 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's just not what I want to do. So I don't mind that. So them asking already is nice. And I appreciate that. But also just like, should we meet there and walk to the place? Do you want to drive? Like, me, I don't know. It's just like when they ask, too many can get a little excessive. Like, just make a plan. And I also think it's up to me to say, like, whether like what my comfort or what my boundaries are. But I think a little bit of, I don't know, consideration about certain things like travel time, distance, location, the time of the day, like work-wise and stuff is important and considerate. And again, it just goes to like the whole like time thing. Like, your time is important, and you also have respect for my time and what I'm doing. So,
well, I'm like paying attention. Like, if it's coming from a dating app, it says where my neighborhood is, and I put on there that I am not drinking, because I don't really want to go to drinks with someone as the date.
Yeah,
I'm like really not trying to do that, and guys will be like, "Hey, do you want to come to PB and grab drinks?" I'm like, 1, no. 2, no. Like, that's far, and I don't want to do that. Yeah. So, like, you
clearly didn't take the time to look at my profile. You just liked the first picture, and that was that.
Yeah. Like, I took the time to put that stuff on there to be helpful, and you didn't look at it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've learned that have made going on dates not so obnoxious, or being on dating apps not so, like, draining, is I don't swipe on more than 10 people in a day.
So, like, your boundaries for yourself on, like, what it is when you're approaching them. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So,
that's
like,
smart.
10 people max. And sometimes there's someone in there, sometimes there's not. I also, the time that, well, I don't know why, I just had, like, a stroke. I, like, couldn't speak.
Seems to be the theme of the evening.
This is a little bumpy ride we're on. This time when I've gotten on Hinge, I have not liked anyone. They have all been people that have liked me. I have not gone out and, like, gone through people, you know, in, like, the normal feed. Yeah. It's, like, all been my matches. And I didn't swipe on anyone. Like, I didn't even go through who had liked me for a week when I got the app. I just, like, set up my profile.
Put it away.
And then I got on and I went through 10. And so it was, like, they, like, show your profile a lot in the beginning. I don't know how it's set up. So I, like, had a decent amount of, like, matches. But I didn't go through them all in one sitting. And so it was, like, a very slow build. Yeah. Which I think was helpful for me getting back on. So I wasn't, like, overwhelmed with, now I have to have all these conversations with, like, 6 different people, and I'm drained to respond. It was like, maybe I'm talking to one person, and then tomorrow I'll get on. And I also have like a limit app that, like, blocks my apps, so I can only go on before 8 a.m. or after 4 p.m. which I think was helpful too.
Very helpful.
So I wasn't just like in the middle of the day doing it mindlessly and then having, I don't know, just like only going on in the morning or the evening and then being done when my 10 swipes were up.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, just like setting those limits makes it better. And also, like, if they're not trying to make a plan, I'm not going to keep messaging you.
Yeah. Yeah. I can attest to that because it's so frustrating. And also, like, frustrating, yes, but not as much as it was last year, because now I'm like, okay, like, this is who you are, and I'm not interested. Like, I'm moving on. I don't feel the need for that. I also have made it a point to not just, like, if I find someone's profile interesting, I'm trying to, like, respond to something, whether it's like a picture, which I know you probably already do, but like whether it's like commenting on a picture or responding to a prompt of some sort to initiate the conversation, because I think I've had the tendency to kind of like sit in the passenger seat and like wait for things to happen to me. And although like I am very interested in finding someone, I'm not a passenger seat kind of person. And so I want to kind of show who I am a little bit more than kind of like these slow little glimpses until you get to know me, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I want to be myself. And so I try to respond with things that like I'm thinking of, or like something, whatever, like who I am. That way it grabs their attention. And I also appreciate when they do the same for my profile, when it's not just liking my first picture, it's like a comment of where they think the picture was taken or their response to a prompt or something, and it gets the conversation going a little bit rather than this like hi. Like it's something that I've done in the past and that didn't work, so I'm switching it up, which I know is like basic, but I think sometimes dating apps, you have a tendency to start off that way and then just kind of take the back seat because you're doom swiping, and you're just like dislike, or swipe, not swipe, blah blah blah, this mm-hmm. and you get like caught up in it. And so now it's like a little more intentional. Like I don't even care if your first photo is ugly, like I am looking through your whole prompt, and if it's like not a match, then no. But if they're like some, you know, like I'm actually looking instead of just like yes no.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell how much time someone put into their profile.
Yeah.
Like when there's no like prompts, I mean, it's like clearly they're like good looking, so they just have like a bunch of photos and like 2 things in the information section. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you're like attractive. It's clearly that like you're using that. To me, I interpret that as like that's all you're going to put in.
Yeah.
It's like your appearance.
But I think on like the other side of that, for like meeting people in real life, I think when you like meet someone, when they like remember your name or like remember things that you've said of like, oh, like I've been out, or like I'll say like, oh, I'm just drinking this, or like I'm not drinking, or I mentioned something about what it is and they remember that. And I think it just, or it starts a conversation, or you like meet at some point and you say something and then you come back and you're like, oh yeah, you said that you worked at, like I appreciate that because it means that you're listening. So I think that's like the equivalent to the in real life people. Mm-hmm. But I did want to bring up, I saw this Instagram reel, and I know it's like whatever, probably so basic, everybody already know, blah, 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 whatever. But I want to share it because I thought it was so helpful for me. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to tell you what it is. So Christine Campbell Pate, I honestly can't even read it. It was her like reel or whatever, and it's 7 casual but clever questions to ask on a first date. And I am a basic bitch. I like knowing what it is that you do, or you're like how close you are with your family, and like I think those things are important. Mm-hmm. But that stuff can like, you can talk about that for like 2 seconds and then the conversation is done. Or I also think I appreciate, because I like dialogue and getting to know someone, those basic, like they're almost like too basic now, but I don't really know what else to say. I haven't really had anything, and it's just those questions that come to my mind because I actually am interested in learning about you, and I think that I've just like trained myself, this is what's important, so I'm just going to ask flat out instead of like maybe asking a broader question that might circle back and answer a lot of things that I might not have even asked otherwise. So I wanted to share with you guys these 7 questions that she posted. This first one is, what's been keeping you excited these days? And I think like, I don't know, I love that, and I like the way that it's like worded, and mm-hmm. I think if someone were to ask me that, like in reverse it and say like, what about you? It makes me think like, what do I do? Like, what is exciting? It's just a nice way to phrase that.
That's cute.
What do you do when you're not working? I like this one. This gets brought up a lot in dating apps even before the first date, since like, and that's a good way to navigate maybe what it is you guys want to do for a first date. Who are your ride or die friends? I think this is really nice. Maybe more like second date, but I just think it's important to know like who they surround themselves
Dude, I talk about you all the time.
Really? Oh, I know. They're probably like, well, why don't you go date her? Because I'll be like, okay, I'm like, Erica, so, okay. Anyway, and like, I'll like say your name as if they know who the fuck I am. And they're like, oh, this bitch is fucking, what the fuck? Like, she won't shut up about this Erica girl. It's fucking awesome.
Like the other day, this guy was like, I don't know, this is like a weird topic, but like, do you want to be like buried or cremated? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so funny you ask. Ellie and I were talking about this, and I was like, and then I'm like,
ride or die friends, you get to know them. But I love that. Like, it's true, and it also like when they're really close with someone and you can see that like, oh, that person brings them a lot of joy. It's like, okay, they have people. They have people supporting them.
That is important.
What lessons did you learn from your last relationship? I feel like I am at a point in my life where I can have an adult conversation. I want to be with someone that can have an adult conversation. I'm not here on these dating apps or out and about most times to just fuck around. Like, I want to get to know you. I want to see if this is going to work. I'm not going to put more time and energy of my life and your life for something that's just not going to work. And I think this is, I've not asked this, so we'll circle back for when I do ask this question, but I have always been afraid to bring up past relationships on a first date, or even like when I'm getting to know someone, because I'm like, I don't know, I feel like
you don't want to be the person that like talks about their ex. But I feel like that's different. I feel like there's a way to talk about like the things that you learned or experiences, or like what's kind of made you want what you want now or whatever, versus like, oh, well, my ex, like, blah, 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 my ex, blah, blah, and it's like, okay.
But that's what I'm saying, too, is, like, if they answer this question, I think it says a lot about where they're at in their, like, healing process, because if I was on a date right after I got broken up with and someone asked me this, it would be like, oh, my God, this guy, blah, 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 and it would clearly show that I am not ready for a long-term relationship, and I think that if I would be able to hear it in their answer as well, of, like, where they're at and what it is they're looking for. It's a good tester. How do you picture your life in 5 years? This is great. What's your go-to method for dealing with stress? I think this is good too. I mean, I would hope that everybody's being like as honest as they can be. I'm only saying this because her example says, from yoga to video games, knowing how someone handles the rough days can tell you a lot about their coping mechanisms. The video games kind of threw me off. I don't know if I want like a gamer. Dated a gamer for a little bit and I hated that. Like, I just did not like that. It wasn't my vibe. And so I don't know. You get to just know people. I feel like I'm kind of coming at it a little negatively, but these are great questions. Lastly, how do you prioritize health and wellness? I super appreciate this. It's like something that is important in my life that I'm asking myself. So I would want someone that I'm dating to kind of be asking themselves and kind of doing something, taking the extra step when it comes to health and wellness.
Yeah. Do they like have that in their routine? I feel like that's different than being like, I hate it when on the app it's like, I'm looking for someone who goes to the gym and eats healthy, and it's like, okay. Annoying.
Yeah.
I might do those things, but that's annoying that you're like, well, like, I'm looking for someone who prioritizes their health is different than these are the expectations that I have for you and how you'll do it.
Yep. I almost always say no to your profile if there's some sort of gym picture or it says the gym.
I feel like it's when it's like their whole profile, because I've seen profiles where it's like every picture is a selfie in the gym or like them flexing.
Yeah, that's like too much.
That's a lot. I mean, it's like almost unhealthy how much you're obsessed with the gym.
Yeah. Not a fan.
Not a fan. I really like those questions. Those are good. Yeah. I think the really thought-provoking ones, someone asked me like the other day on that date at the beach what was the question? It was along the lines of like, how would you describe where you're at in life right now? And that one kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, I don't know. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Like, how would I describe it? Sometimes they can be like, I don't know. If you're going to ask those questions, give them a second to think about it. Because never hadn't been asked that before.
Do you get frustrated if they, like, ask you a question and then, like, they start to give you their answer? I guess it depends on the way. If I'm, like, thinking
and they're like, they would be like, I can tell you where I'm at. And I'd be like, oh, yeah. Because that would be, like, helpful to kind of know what they're thinking. Because the way I answered it, I had assumed based on what we were just talking about that they're asking, like, where I'm at in life now with dating. And so I answered it from that lens. And he was like, that's good to know. Like, that's what you're looking for. I guess I meant, like, more of, like...
In general.
And then I was like, oh, okay, well...
Should have said that. No, I'm kidding.
So I think it's helpful, but what do you think?
No, I only say that because I think if these are good questions to ask, but I think too, like, if I were asking someone this on a first date, it might catch them off, like, guard, and they'd be like, whoa, you know, because they're so used to maybe, like, the basic questions. Like, do I give them a second to answer, or do I, like, well, my ride or die friend, you know, that's not a great example, but, you know, like, do I also, I don't know, like, I guess it's, like, tough. It kind of just depends on the situation. I was just genuinely wondering, because I feel like that is something that I not, like, struggle with. Like, how much do I talk? I felt like this last date that I had, I was very much filling up the space because it was either awkward silence or him just talking about himself. And he was just talking about himself because I kept on asking questions, hoping there would be some, like... Reciprocation, exactly. And then I would respond to my own questions too, kind of, like, oh, well, like, for me, and, you know, just having a conversation, but I left feeling like, fuck, did I just, like, have who the fuck, who was I talking to? Should have just brought a mirror to the restaurant, propped it up on the chair. Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's dating. That's dating right now.
I will say, I'm rereading Attached. Have you read that book?
Mm-mm.
Do you know that book?
Yeah, the one about, like, the attachment styles? Yeah, no.
But it's good. It's a good reminder because I've been feeling very secure, and more recently I feel like some of my, like, anxious tendencies have been triggered as I'm, like, getting to know someone more. And in that book, it structures it with, like, how to, like, find someone in a secure attachment in dating, and, like, certain questions to ask. And it goes back to communication. And I just feel like that is such a skill that you can easily find out about someone on the first date. Like, it doesn't, maybe the second or third date you, like, learn more things and it's just, like, not the vibe. But I just feel like that's, like, the main thing you should be looking for on the first date is, like, how and do they communicate? Because you're not going to know, like, someone's your, like, best friend or your life partner or whatever, meeting them for 30 minutes, an hour. But you can know if there's someone who you would want to get to know more because of that.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's my spiel.
I mean, I think it just is, like, how you show up as well, and how, like, much, like, willing to put yourself out there. And I learned a lot about myself on this past date because it wasn't the best. And so I was able to, like, figure out why it wasn't the best for me, and it kind of helped me figure out, like, what it is I'm actually looking for. And yeah, put yourself out there. It's fun.
It's fun, good stories, be intentional, reflect how you felt, maybe not project why they suck. And I feel like it'll make the experience a little better for you and not so draining.
Yes.
Sorry for the chaos. We're functioning on one brain cell, apparently.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have a few more next week.
We'll see.
You know where to find us. Kaleidostalk Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And see you later. Bye.